Welcome to the American Freethinker live call-in podcast, where the truth shall set you free. Phone number for those who need to get something off their chest is 810-348-5807. Now, before video starts going, the first thing I need to do each time is check and make sure that all the platforms are streaming. I need you to remember that it's just me in front of a camera with some audio and video equipment that I have no idea how to actually run. So the first thing I need to do is get my OBS going, shoot it to Restream. It shoots off to 3 platforms. I have to make sure that I'm not getting reverb. So if anybody that can hear this, that is on my Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, if you can hear me and there isn't no reverb, please let me know. As soon as I know the volume is good, I will switch on video. I don't want you to have to sit and watch my face any longer than necessary. So, all I need to do is check each one and make sure, if anybody happens to be on there, to make sure the sound is good. Then once the video kicks in, just kind of let me know, yep, video's good. You're as sexy as ever, whatever, anything like that will work. While I'm waiting, I want to once again thank my sister Catherine for adding to this emblem, the American Freethinker that I had. She got it, said, hey, how about some color? And she decided to put some picture of the flag behind it, which I really enjoyed. Thank you once again. It has been a while. I think it's been about, I don't know, 6 weeks or longer. There is a reason for that. I will get into that in a little bit. Looks like everything sounds good on Facebook, sounds good on YouTube, and it's fine. All right, well, let's go ahead and switch to video, and I will go ahead and get things rolling. And that noise you hear in the background every once in a while will be my dog Ted drinking. So, like I said, this is not a professional podcast. This is me in front of a camera at my house where my dog may occasionally start to drink. Let's hope he doesn't start to eat. Hello, everyone. Yes, it's been a while. For anybody who's already in here, thank you. I appreciate you joining. Now, how this will work is I will, as I start talking and as I get into the podcast, yes, it is a call-in podcast, so people can call in and talk. It doesn't have to be the topic that I am talking about. It can be whatever you want. If you want to call in and check me on the topic that I am talking about, or bring up something else, feel free. Social, political, religion, or personal, if you just need the Dr. Phil part of me to come out. So it looks like everything's good. Now, let me make sure, once again, that the video is working. So all I need is just some feedback here in the comments. Video is great, thank you. I can hear a bit of an echo. I'm not really sure why that would be. Oh, let me try. How about this? There. I think that might work. For some reason, the volume went on Facebook. So if someone can let me know on Facebook, I know there's a bit of a delay. So I kind of get caught in that every once in a while, thinking that nobody can hear me, when in actuality, you can. It's just the delay. So once I know that the audio is good again, I will go ahead and get going. Looks good, sounds good, Twitch video is good. Thank you very much. Yes, Twitch. I am now on Twitch. Let me go ahead and get started. So, first of all, I want to make sure everyone understands that if you have actually watched my video before, this is the first time I had what I believe is called a tagline. For some reason, it just kind of hit me that this might work good. And that is, the truth shall set you free. Because yes, that's what this podcast is all about. It is not just the fact that I'm brutally honest in everything, political, religious, social, whatever. But I would like people to be able to call in or comment and speak the truth. Don't be afraid. Because the problem is the leftists and the Democrats. They're really pushing hard to make people afraid to speak. They try to demonize the words. They try to demonize the person because they can't beat or demonize what they're trying to get out, what they're trying to say. Okay? So that's straight out of Saul Alinsky. It's called Rules for Radicals. It's basically what the Democrat Party lives by. Now, if you happen to be a first-time watcher or listener, you will notice that this is live. I do it live so that I can actually have people call in, because I don't want to just sit here and talk if I don't have to. I'd rather listen. I'd rather communicate. That's why I started this podcast, is to maybe get into a conversation, to start having people that want to get together and actually have a conversation, comment online, not just listen to me talk. But if that's what I got to do, then I'll just keep talking. Anybody who knows me knows I generally don't have a problem doing that. Also, occasionally I will have to go to the comments section. So I'll break off what I'm talking about and I'll look on the comments. So if you make a comment, I will get to it eventually. Whether it be a question, whether it be something that you want to discuss in the chat room, and I will discuss it with you. I would prefer a phone call. Just easier to talk back and forth. One of the reasons why I started this is because I started really hating Facebook, because it's just, people tend to have that internet muscle, and they just rant, and they don't, when you check them, when you question them, when you box them into a corner, they tend to just either leave or they just start calling you names. So that's why I started the podcast. All right, let me get back to getting things in order. I don't do that perfectly. Okay, I try to keep things in order. I try not to rant, but like I said, it's live. So the first thing I need to talk about is, yes, it's been a while. It's been a long while, 6 weeks at least. And that's because I had some family things going on, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. So what I'm going to do first is discuss the new situation of the podcast. First, I have a lineup of the first will be a dedication. The second, I'm going to talk about a new format and platform. So first, let me go ahead and get into how this started. That's the best way for me to do it. I have a dedication. I'm going to dedicate this to my sister, Jacqueline. And the easiest way for me to explain this is it's actually her fault that you people are actually watching this, that I'm actually here. I think I might have mentioned this story when I first started doing the taped videos. I'm not sure. But how it all began is, and just kind of go along with me for just a little bit, then we'll get right into the politics. But I really do, because it's not just this podcast, but the reason why I'm going to probably keep going and keep pushing and trying to actually build this is because of my sister Jacqueline. You see, back in a while ago, when the whole get Trump thing kind of started, some of the main, like the FBI leader, I can't remember his name, I can never remember names, but he got in trouble. He had to get a lawyer. So he went on one of those sites that you get people to donate money for you, for them to do whatever they want to do. He actually had the nerve, even though he did it, and got hundreds of thousands of dollars real quick. And so I decided to make fun of him and actually start one of those. I can't remember the name of which one I used, but so I went on there and said, hey, I want to do a conservative podcast, donate money if you want to. As more of a joke. And then, of course, I put it on Facebook. The only problem is, like most of my jokes, I get it, and everybody else is wondering, what are you talking about? So it's no big deal. I just forgot about it. All of a sudden, I got an email that someone donated money to the podcast. I looked, and it happened to have been my sister. Well, I had a decision to make. Either, kind of, because I did want to do the podcast. I actually wanted to. I thought it'd be kind of nice to do. But I probably never would have did it. And it wasn't necessarily even a money thing, because like I said, it was kind of a joke. It doesn't cost much to do all this, hardly anything at all. But I decided to go ahead and do it. At that point, because we have that type of relationship where we kind of push each other, that's what she did. It wasn't even a question. It was, yeah, absolutely, let's support this. And she did. And now we have this. From just beginning and doing some tapes, to buying a decent camera, to buying a decent sound equipment, to this. And throughout the time, because, I don't have thousands of listeners. This isn't a kind of a podcast where I'm just going to have thousands and thousands of viewers every single week. This isn't the type of podcast where I'm going to make a living off it or anything. It's mostly just me, most likely making a fool of myself. But, hey, I need to get this stuff off my chest. I'm a political person, and I like to have debates. I like to have discussions. And so this is kind of right up my alley. But it'd be very easy for me just to kind of stop, because it's not like I have a big following. But one thing that will probably keep me going and keep me kind of motivated in doing that is the fact that, well, it would be kind of throwing it back at my sister when she actually helped me. So, now, why is this dedicated to my sister? Well, she passed away on the 14th, I believe it was. And so I'm just going to keep this going as kind of a memory of her. So every time I do a podcast, I'll be thinking about my sister. What also I realized is, because my sister was a little more, anybody who got into a conversation with her, she was a little more in your face. She was a little more animated, a little more excitable, and it actually, I think it meant more to her as far as the political belief system. She was very religious, and so I think that added to it. And bit by bit, I have been kind of moving towards that. And I don't know, I think it was about a few days ago, I was kind of getting back on Facebook. I hadn't been on Facebook for, I don't know, at least a couple weeks for obvious reasons. I didn't do my podcast for at least a month or so for obvious reasons. It was a little bit too, I don't know. Couldn't really concentrate with all that was going on. And it's probably too early to go back now, actually, because my mind is still kind of scattered. But we're going to get into it, and this is why. And let me go ahead and do this. And I'm pretty excited because I learned how to do this. I learned how to switch from video to actually putting up some data information. And I don't know how clear this comes across, but what it actually is a couple days ago or last week, my Uncle Dave and I, we agree for the most part, but the occasional disagreement here and there. And when we disagree, we disagree. And he just kind of out of the blue, a few days ago, sent me this Facebook post. And I really didn't plan on doing a video for a while, but then I decided, well, I was thinking about it, because I know my sister would have probably kicked me in the butt and said, what are you doing? Come on, suck it up. So then all of a sudden he sent me this Facebook message from a continuing stream or continuing Facebook conversation. So I'm going to read it to you because I don't know if you can read it or not, but I put it up there just so you know, yeah, okay, it's a Facebook. It says this. It says, Robbie, I know you have been mourning over your sister. She's a very intelligent woman. She and I have had our disputes over what is right and what is wrong, and what is true and what is not true. But I never doubted her IQ. I knew from the get-go that she was very smart and had things to say that were worth considering. Him and my sister would get into dragged down conversations on Facebook like you wouldn't believe. Just unbelievable. But this is what he posted right after that, which kind of got me, I don't know, a little bit revved up. But now it's time for us to move on. You have started the discussion, and we must continue it. Our country is at stake here. Now, this is the kind of verbiage you would hear from my sister. She was really starting to get kind of aggravated about how down this country is getting, morally, ethically. Andrew, which is my cousin, we get into debates. He's more on the left side, while my Uncle Dave and I are kind of more on the conservative side. Is partially correct. It's not just the millennials. It's the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen VD. For the matter, the Russians and the Chinese have convinced these moronic sheep into thinking that socialism is superior to capitalism, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. We have a lot to do between now and then. Let's do it before these poor, moronic souls we call the American youth transform our republic into a Hong Kong Delta. Now, my uncle is fantastic at wordplay, just incredibly dry humor, and I would never be able to put it in these kind of words, but this is exactly the way my sister was thinking, and this is probably the way I think for the most part. So, thank you for kind of just standing by and listening to that. But, I don't know. It was kind of important to bring up why things are going the way they're going, what happened, and moving forward. And I figured I'd go ahead and put this up. Now, gotta take my glasses off. Before I get into the actual the portion of the podcast to try to get back to some normalcy, which I don't know if this podcast will be like my normal podcast as far as talking about a topic in an hour or so long or whatever, because I've changed it up a little bit. I decided to make it, I don't know, what I think to be a little bit better. Good. I wasn't sure it would be easy to read. Thanks, Kathy. And remember, anybody who wants to put a comment on here, I will try to get to it, and I will try to have that discussion with you. That was a perfect example of my uncle's veracity during a Facebook conversation. And my sister, to be honest with you, I tend to be a little bit more meat and potatoes. He tends to be a little bit more psychological and intellectual. Make sure the video is going back. Yep, there's the video. All right, so this is what we have here. Now, instead of just having a topic and just going with it, I decided to break it up into segments. Now, the segments are going to be topic of the day, which is basically what I was doing, having a topic and discussing it. The reason why I have a topic is because if not, I would just be sitting here waiting for people to call, and I think I've had maybe 2 or 3 people call over the few months I've been doing this, which I understand. It's, I don't know, some people aren't quite comfortable with calling and actually having a conversation. They like the Facebook, just comments, and then they can run away if they need to. But I've decided to add news of the day, and nothing major. I'm just going to pick just 1 or 2 things that happened during the week or so before in between podcasts, discuss that. I decided to discuss Facebook debates that I've had during that time, because I tend to get into quite a few heated ones trying to talk to some of these Democrat voters and just tell, why are you voting Democrat? Remember, if you've watched this before, if not, this is new to you, but the purpose of this podcast, one of the main purposes of this podcast, is every single topic that I bring up is an instance of why are you still voting Democrat? Because the Democrat Party is not the party of JFK. It's the party more closer to Wilson and FDR. It's the party closer to AOC and the 4, I can't remember what they call the gang of 4 or whatever now, the women. The names escape me right now. But, and then the last thing, and I'm doing this as just this is mine, is back when this whole thing started, back when Trump was first kind of running, there's a guy, his first name's Andrew. He writes for like MLive and everything, and he would come on his Facebook page, and he's very liberal, and all his followers are very liberal, and memes really started kind of coming around. Now, I'm an outside the box thinker. I love humor, but I love that type of humor that just like really shocks you. Like, wow, how did you come up with something like that? That's fantastic. And I mean, I would just sit there and just laugh at these memes coming up on both sides, whether it was against Trump, for Trump, pro Democrat, anti Republican, didn't matter. As long as it was something humorous and had a quirkiness to it, I just loved it. Now, I haven't figured out how to do some of the memes that actually have like moving parts to it and video, but to do it on my podcast, so all I have is some of the just pictures, but that's going to be a segment of mine. The best memes that I found while I'm reading them, I'm going to bring on here. So, and yes, as far as the platform goes, I am now on Twitch, thanks to my nephew Alex, who just kept telling me that Twitch is the way to go. All the young people are on Twitch now because that's like a big gaming podcast. And so I decided, sure, why not? Let's see if I can do it. I can barely figure out how to do it on Facebook and YouTube, but why not try a third one and confuse myself even more? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Whenever you see me turning off to the side, that's because I'm checking the comments. Remember, you can comment or you can call in. And of course, that phone number is 810-348-5807. Now for the topics. Now, so I did the second one is the topics. So like I said, I have topics of the day. As I was thinking about it, I'm like, it's been a while. It's been a while of me actually being on here and talking about all the topics. And I figured, you know what? I'm just going to go through them kind of fast. Let's call it a recap of all the different topics. And I've done a few of them. I'm kind of running out of the important ones. And so from now on, maybe the topics won't be as big, which is another reason why I decided to bring in the news of the day, maybe make it something where other people might want to get involved and talk about that. And of course, the memes. The memes are just for me, for fun. But as far as the topics, not really going to have one today. I'm just going to kind of go over what I've been doing because I'm bringing on Twitch, so that's a new one. Hopefully, different people calling in, maybe some comments on there about the different topics that I've brought up. Next podcast, which again, I'm not sure when it's going to be, because by the way, I'm moving from Michigan to Florida, still truck driving, so I'm going to be out on the road. I will probably, and I should brought up, not only a new platform, but a whole new system. So I might not be doing live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch as I continue the podcast. Instead, it will be on my website, and I will be sending out, I guess, notices on Facebook that says, okay, the podcast is starting. Here's the link to my website and watch the video. I'd rather not do it that way, but when I'm on the road, I don't have the Wi-Fi power. So that's what I'll have to do. Again, let's make sure everything is working. Looks like we're still good. Of course, it looks like YouTube is... Can't tell if YouTube is working or not. That's always a problem. And Twitch. All right. Some of the topics. Here's the topics. I'm going to run them right down. I could go and I could talk for hours on each and every topic, which of course I already have, but then the podcast is 6 hours long or 8 hours long instead of a little over an hour, which is what I'm shooting for. The very first topic I had was America and the Democrat Party. And the reason why that was my first topic, well, it's obvious. The purpose of this podcast is to point out to people, why are you voting Democrat? The Democrat Party does one thing and one thing only, and they've done it since its inception. Okay? It finds groups, and it makes these groups think that they're the only ones that can help them. It started out with the immigrants coming in through New York, okay, because it was Van Buren. He's the one that started this the way the Democrats do things. And he would go to the immigrants and say, okay, we're going to give you a little bit here, just enough to live on, but you're going to vote for us. Well, Van Buren couldn't do it. So what he did was he had some lackeys, just a couple lackeys in each area of New York, all the boroughs, I think they call them. Gangs of New York does this perfectly, explains it. And so what they would do is they have all these groups, these leaders in these different areas. They would go to the people, the immigrants, and say, hey, immigrant, life is hard. You better let us help you as long as you vote for us. So then Van Buren would have all this money coming down from federal to help out. They would divvy it up between himself and his leaders and then give the rest to whatever programs or supposedly were doing. That was the political machine. That was Van Buren. Okay? That's when he went to the slavery. Because remember, the Democrat Party is the party of slavery. He went to the slaveholders and said, hey, join me as a party and we can rule this. We can make sure that we keep this strong, this power base. That was the Democrat Party. It was the Democrat Party that started the war. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't the Republicans. It wasn't even necessarily the idea of just slavery and all that. It was the Democrat Party beginning to lose power. They were beginning to lose that power to keep slavery and then to keep immigrants coming in and having power over them. So that's why they started the war. That's why they separated and then the war started. Once they lost the war, they're also the ones that stopped when the Republican Party, when they were trying to help the slaves that were now Americans and free to start their lives again, to start a life, which is almost impossible if you think about it. They came from nothing to, hey, now let's start a life. And they were trying. Well, guess who stopped it? Yes, the Democrat Party, the KKK. Okay? During those years, that's when the Democrat Party really started getting stronger. They realized what they could do through fear. The KKK. The KKK didn't just go after the African Americans. They went after the whites that supported this movement of allowing the African Americans to be free. That's the Democrat Party. Jim Crow laws. That's the Democrat Party. Wilson, FDR, just well-known racists of the worst kind. And people don't, I understand when I actually bring this stuff up on Facebook or face to face, people actually question me. They're like, because what I do is I compare them to not just the Nazis, but just Hitler himself. Yes, Hitler killed millions of Jews because of his hatred. He got his ideas from the Democrat Party. Check it out. It's fact. Well, what did the Democrats do? They had slaves. How many slaves did they kill? How many people died in the war? How many people died during the KKK when they were trying to take back the power in the South? The Jim Crow laws. Fighting for civil rights. How many people died during that? That's the Democrat Party. Oh, well, no, that's not the Democrat Party anymore. You got that big lie, the switch happening in the 60s and 70s. That's a complete lie. They realized that they were losing the vote down south because of all the white people were sick and tired of this animosity, this hate that they had. And the black community, the African Americans community, was actually coming up. They were doing good. They were doing better than a lot of the white people coming up. Democrat Party had to stop that. What'd they do? Promised them, especially during the hard times in 20s and 30s, they promised them government help. They took that from them. They said, depend on us. The same thing they did with the immigrants. No different. We'll help you. You vote for us. And they just started their groups. Now they had the immigrants. Now they had the minorities. Well, they didn't stop there. 70s and 80s. That's when all the other groups came up. They didn't come up. They came up for a reason because there was people weren't being treated fairly, lawfully. So the group started first for good reasons, but then the left and the Democrat Party took over these groups, and now all they are is no different than Van Buren with the immigrants. Whatever group, it doesn't matter what it is, women, minorities, immigrants, the gay community, all these groups, they say, Come with us. Come with us. It doesn't matter. Believe in abortion because you're a Democrat. You have to believe in abortion. Why would you become part of these groups? Why would you do group thought? Why? It makes no sense to me. And yes, I could keep ranting and going on and going on. But now, that's what the Democrat Party is. Just like Van Buren with his little minions running around in their little boroughs, getting their voters. Now they have group leaders, leftists, Democrats, in charge of each group. And as long as they can get enough people to be a part of that group, to be a good voting base, as long as they can do that, then they will get theirs. They will get their limo rides. They will get their private jets. They will get the fancy parties and the gowns and all the money that come down from the federal government. It's the same machine as Van Buren built that FDR took over and made it federal. It's not rocket science. Look at the minority community now. They put them all in the groups, in the inner city, just in these projects. And they keep them down on purpose. Why? Because if they finally realize, like Blexit, I'm sure we've heard of Blexit, Candace Owens letting the black people know, why are you voting Democrat? They haven't done anything for you. All they do is push you down and say, here, have just this little bit to survive on. That's the Democrat Party. That was my very first topic. Then, of course, race and poverty. Well, I basically just went over it. It's exactly what they do. They are pushing that America hates each other. The Democrat Party, they have to have an evil person. They have to have problems and strife and make one person hate another person. And that's the race issues today. It's the leaders like the Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons. They get to ride around in their limos. They get to go to the fancy parties. They get to make millions of dollars and not pay taxes. They get to do all that as long as they keep enough people down and voting for them. No different than Van Buren with the people in the boroughs. No different. That's your group leaders. And every little group, how many little groups are there? You can count them. When I get into the Facebook debates, that was one of them, was the Indian community, the Native Indians. That's just another group. And they use them. They anger them. They say, oh my gosh, you're beaten up and you're still beaten up, and vote for us and we'll make life better for you. Well, I'm sorry, but life hasn't been better for you. But still vote for them. That's my first two. And poverty, it's a lie. Poverty's a lie. In America, it's a lie. There's absolutely no reason to be in poverty. I argue about this every once in a while on Facebook, and nobody has an answer. In America, you have no excuse to live in poverty, other than your parents grew up that way, you then grow up that way. Well, that's not America. That's not America's fault. That's not capitalism's fault. That's your fault for not doing the basic things. Graduate from high school. Don't get pregnant until you have a career. Don't get married until you have a career. Then get pregnant. Stay in your jobs. Keep working. Keep moving up the ladder. And you'll be successful. You won't have this so-called poverty. It's all fake. I could do these topics every single podcast and be very happy. Just run them down. Run right down them. But next time I'll have another topic. So let me make sure that everything's working here. I have no idea if YouTube's working. Facebook. Don't forget the millions killed by Democrats, black genocide through abortion. Absolutely. It's actually, I think, my next topic, Victor. Good point. My next topic is abortion and the fake ideas that they pushed on women during the feminist movement, the important movement of giving women the right to vote and in the workplace. That movement that was very important, that had to happen, and it was good that it happened. And the organizations that were built up to do that, right from Susan B. Anthony on, they jumped into abortion. The Margaret Sanger, one of the most racist people that probably in this country's history, that's what it was all about. Let's get this abortion idea in here so that the immigrants and the minorities, which were the biggest groups having abortions, we could keep them having abortions so that we could keep their numbers down. That's Margaret Sanger. That's the truth. Perfect. Absolutely. accurate domestic, black genocide, abortion, especially in New York. I believe that the stat in New York now is more black people are aborted than born. Tell me how that's not still the Democrat Party back in slavery days holding down the black community. Tell me how that isn't. They're the ones that push abortion. They're the ones that keep them down in the projects. They're the ones that just give them lip service that will help you. Well, guess who's actually helping them? Oh, no, Donald Trump. Anyways, let me take something to drink here. I'm getting going here. Let me make sure there's nothing going on Twitch. YouTube, I have no idea. But at least I got Facebook working. But thank you, Victor. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And yes, that was my next. Abortion and welfare. Race, poverty, welfare, that's all the same thing. Welfare is just a way to keep the population down. It's as simple as that. That's when the black population started going downhill. They were going uphill and doing just as good as whites, especially in the family. Break apart the family, break apart their religion, then break apart their family, and now they depend on the government. Now you have women depending on the government. You tell the women, if you have a man, you won't get this help. Now you have to depend on the man. And if they can't do that, they don't feel comfortable, they're just going to stay with the government and not get married and not have that unified, that important cohesion that actually makes a community, that makes a culture, that makes a society so strong. That's why they went from like the complete flop from like the 40s and 50s going up into the 60s, where I believe they were up in the 60s and 70% married, to now they're like in the 80% not married. So you have 80% of the population in the black community not married, having kids. That is a recipe for what they call poverty. One quick note on poverty. It's a little bit off topic, but the wife and I, truck driving, we lived off, with my dog, with Ted, we lived off the chicken from Walmart and a frozen bag of the rice and vegetable every day. And I think it came to like $7, and it fed the two of us and Ted. So how are people starving when we as adults, two of us, lived off that chicken for $5? Everyone knows about it in Walmart, how you've got that chicken that's the roasted chicken for $5, and then a couple dollar bag of rice and vegetables feeds probably 3 people. So how are you starving? How is it poverty? I don't know. Sorry, went off on a rant. But anyways, yeah, abortion and then welfare. And now abortion, we all know what that was about. I just got done talking about it, thanks to Victor, bringing it up at a perfect time. That's how they're continuing to keep the black community down. Okay? And not just the black community, the white community. They need us down too. They need everybody down. Because the only way that America is so strong is because we have that grit. We have that idea of individualism. We have that, and rugged individualism. And we want to be free. We want to be strong. We want to do it ourselves. They got to break that by every group, not just minorities, but majorities too. And that's what they're doing, bit by bit. Kill the religion, break apart the family, stop having kids. That's a big one. And then they start crying, well, we need help from the government. Government comes in, you switch from capitalism to socialism. It's been a well-known fact since the founding fathers. As soon as this country goes 51, 52% dependent on the government, capitalism and freedom and rule of law and everything that's important to us as Americans, gone, out the window. It's a fact, and it's happening. We're already there, okay? And it's not necessarily 51 or 52% that are just bleeding off the government. It's not just that, but it's also people who donated, who put money in for Social Security. So they're not feeding off the government as far as they didn't put in. They put in, now they're getting back. But the fact is they're dependent on that government check. They're dependent on it. And that is power. That is pure power. If you depend on the government, pure power, right? Just like if you depend on a job or a career at a particular place, if you don't have the ability to go somewhere else, that company owns you. That company can do and say and give you whatever kind of wage they want, and you have to put up with it because you can't afford to go somewhere else, because you don't have what the ability to go somewhere else. And if they know that, they got you. Businesses love families, because if you have a family, they know you're not going anywhere, because you need that weekly check, or else you're going to lose your house and your family. And they know that. No different than government. Keep voting for us, the Democrat Party, or you lose your welfare. Well, that scares people. It scares them a lot. That's why they're so rabid, because they just keep saying, oh, this evil guy Trump, he's going to get rid of your welfare. You're all going to lose everything. Instead of saying, which I'm saying, and I don't know Trump as much, but get off welfare, force them to get off welfare, do it themselves. It's a good thing. You feel good about yourself when you do it that way. The next topic is a little bit rougher. It's feminism and the good old XXXY that was during the whole time. I think it's kind of died down a little bit, but not really. It's actually it's not as big, but it's worse. I'll explain that. Feminism, of course, is back when feminism is important. The first wave of feminism, very important. Getting their rights. No different than the civil rights for the African Americans when they first came out of slavery. We had to fight for that, and groups fought for that. One of the biggest groups that fought for it was some group that started something about guns. The rights for African Americans to have guns. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I digress. So that was important. Of course, that's when Margaret Sanger came in and somehow talked women into thinking it was okay to murder their unborn child. How that happened, I have no idea. I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall. Hey, we're fighting for the freedom to work and the freedom to vote. And Margaret Sanger jumps up and says, and to murder your unborn child. And all the women were like, that doesn't sound right, but okay, yay. Infanticide, yay. Somehow that happened. I would love to, like I said, I'd love to be that fly on that wall when that first conversation started happening, because I'd be like, that doesn't make sense. But feminism went right downhill. It went from what was important as a society and as a culture to come together with man and have children and build a community to no, men are evil, men are bad, white supremacy got jumped into that with the white men and male patriarchy. Oh, that's a big word now. To now where it's just, we don't need families. We don't need men. We hate men. We don't get paid right. Another Facebook debate that I'll be talking about later. But so that was feminism. Along with feminism, it's the same push. You've got the transgenderism. Okay? Transgenders, you want to do what you want to do when you get old enough, 25, 26, and you decide you want to lop some things off or whatever, or add some things. You want to do that to yourself, you go right ahead. It's obviously crazy, but they're trying to push us to that idea that there's no such thing as men and women. You've got men now saying they're women, winning all kinds of athletic events, even in high school. That's how sick it has gotten, to the point where now we're pushing 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old children. Their parents are pushing them into saying one time when they might like a doll, or, hey, do you like that girl? Yeah, I like girls. Oh, that means you're a girl. Oh, okay, now you're a girl. And they actually are... There are court cases where men are trying to fight this, their sons becoming women, and their woke feminist mom saying, no, you can't argue his pronoun, and giving them medicine and putting them through the hormone injections and literally destroying these people's lives. The rate of people committing suicide in the transgender community is so high because it is a problem. It is a mental disorder. Anytime you look at your body and say, oh my God, I got to do something. This is horrible. Like when when the girls mostly put their finger down their throat and throw up so that they stay skinny, body dysphoria, that's a thing. And they're pushing that on our kids. And that was that topic. XXXY, that's what I called it, because they're trying to force us as a community. Why would they do that? Because they need to break down the family. Simple as that. And these are the kind of conversations that I talked about earlier, where the leftists will break you down. They will say, no, you can't say that. You're evil. You hate. I don't hate anybody. I could care less what you do behind closed doors if you're old enough. But don't come to me and say, I have to agree to it. I have to agree with it. No. Nope, not right. Next topic, immigration, legal, and regular immigration. I'm kind of a hardliner. I agree that we need to stop immigration, especially illegal immigration. Put up the wall. Now what are the arguments for that? Oh, there's tons of arguments against that they say. Well, if you put up a wall, they'll just build a taller ladder. I mean, that's the kind of, I hate to say it, but ignorance that they're arguing out there on this building the wall idea. Well, walls don't work. Well, it works everywhere they put them up. Oh, but it won't work here. That's kind of like saying, well, socialism hasn't worked anywhere else in the world, but it'll work here. That's another story. But for some reason, that illegal immigration question, they do the same thing they do with all the rest of them. If somehow you want to protect your culture, you want to protect the rule of law, and you want to protect what this country is about, and not let people in here that don't belong in here, sovereignty of our nation, of all nations, every nation should feel the same way. If they don't want us in there, okay, I'm good with that. Or we can't stay there because we don't speak French, or you don't speak German. No, you can't live here unless you know how to talk to us. Gee, what a concept. I am absolutely just talking like crazy, aren't I? It's an effective form of black genocide. Just look at the numbers, like you said. Yeah, that's mainly New York, and I think now Virginia. They're really wasn't. I think it was the Virginia governor that actually went on that radio program and said that what they're first going to do is they're actually going to, how did he put it? It was amazing. How did he put it? He said, first, when it's born, we will check with the mom and the doctor to see whether or not we resuscitate it and try to keep it alive. And if it's alive, we will put it off to the side, nice and comfortable, and then the woman and the doctor will have a discussion. So now, and I remember back arguing abortion with people before, pre-Trump, about how the next thing they're going to do is they're just going to make it where you can kill it right up to coming out, and they would laugh at you. No, that's never going to happen. Just like when you argued guns, they're eventually going to try to take all the guns. No one wants to take all the guns. Well, both are true now. Now you actually have people outwardly talking, which I think this was a Trump thing. This is one of the best things about Trump. All the things that are kind of wrong with him, okay. But this is one of the good things. He brought the crazy right out. I know Obama started it. I know he's kind of started making it okay to be crazy and talk about all these horrible, horrible things like abortion at birth. But Trump, because they hate him so much, because he wants to stop all this evilness, he's really brought him out. No way would they have said this 10 years ago. Yeah, it's okay. Right out, go ahead, birth it, and then decide whether you want it or not. How can women agree to something like that? Let's go back to feminism. How can a woman agree to that? I don't even understand. What mindset gives you the thinking or the ability to think that, yeah, it's okay to murder that baby? And you know what? All these people in these groups that allow themselves to be put in a group, they would just agree. They would just agree because they're afraid to say, boy, you're right. Maybe third trimester abortions is kind of sick and gross. Now, I think first semester abortions are sick and gross. But these people are now saying it's okay even once they come out, once a baby comes out. It's okay. Let it lay there. We'll make it comfortable. But if you don't want it, we just won't let it live. We'll just let it die. That's how sick it's gotten. And somehow people are afraid to speak out about that. Just like they're afraid to speak out about how evil it is to say that a 6, 7, 8-year-old child, it's okay if you give them hormone blockers because they one time played with a Barbie doll. It's just stupid. And every single number points that that's a bad thing. But hey, we can't talk about that. Now, I'm ranting again. I know I'm going to keep doing this, but like I said, a lot of this is coming from the fact that, my sister kept kind of pushing on me. We got to push a little harder. This isn't right. A lot of things are going bad quickly. Can you imagine how fast it would be going down if Hillary would have won? Trump is just kind of slowing it down a little bit. But it's still moving in the evil, evil direction. And then when I read the post from my Uncle Dave saying, yeah, you're mourning, I understand that. But we got to talk, we got to keep going. We can't stop. We got to do whatever we can do. And I know that this is a little thing. I know that this is just some dope talking on a video and talking, but I'm trying to do what little bit of part I can do. If I could have every single Democrat voter call me on a daily basis and let's have a conversation, like I've said before, as far as percentages, and I'm going to stick by this, is I still think we're at 60 and 70% of Americans are leaning more towards that conservative idea. I don't believe there's no conservative, everything is this is a conservative, are you a conservative? Because it varies, But we are more of a conservative minded, love America, America's good, support our troops, rule of law, constitutional democracy, democratic republic. That's what we are. Let's support that. But the problem is half of the country, for whatever reason, they just vote Democrat. And that's my belief, that out of that 70%, so now you have half that vote Democrat. At least 70% of those Democrats still believe in America. They still have some idea of what's right and wrong. They're just not brave enough to speak up against it. Because of what I said at the beginning, that they're going to make you worry about talking. You people can't do nothing to me. Trust me. There ain't shit you can do to me. And if there happens to be any kids listening, I apologize. But there's nothing you can do to me. I'd rather go live in a van under a bridge for the rest of my life, sorry, hon, than not speak out what's wrong. I will continue to speak out, even if my voice is only heard by 10 people every single week. I don't care. I don't care. I will continue to do what I can to get it out there, because I'm not going to stop. And like I said, this is for my sister Jacqueline, because I know how strongly she felt, and I'm going to keep it going. And with my Uncle Dave pushing like he did, I'm there. I don't always agree with him, but I will push. And I am not going to let people that come up and say, oh, you can't talk about transgenderism being bad. That makes you evil. No, that makes me smart. It's okay to give our children hormone blockers if they think they might be a woman instead of a boy. No, it's not okay. It's evil. Stop. It's okay to keep pushing people down into the hole so that they can vote for us. It's okay to keep them in welfare. It's okay to lie to them about everything as long as they vote for us. No, it's not. Ted agrees. That was Ted saying, you go, boy. Anyways, that was a rant. Sorry. Yes, Dar. Yes, Dar, my sister. We had some nice talking this last couple of weeks or so. Yep, huge problem. People are too scared to even talk. Now listen, I may not agree with everything someone says on every single topic. Some people are more hardline than I am about different topics, but I'm willing to listen. That's why I called it the American Freethinker. being a free thinker does not mean you don't have opinions. I have my opinions because I'm a free thinker. I've thought about every angle of every side. And now I have my opinions. And they're strong because I'm a free thinker. Whatever opinion I have, if you have a different one and it's a little bit hard line, I'm still going to go. I'm still going to listen. And I'm still going to debate you. And if I can't beat your point, guess who's changing their mind? I am. Only an idiot does not change their point of view when they can't beat the other point of view. So yes, narrow-minded people, groupthink is evil. Groupthink is the most evil thing that can happen. Do you know what groupthink is? Germany in the 1930s and 40s. That's group thought. That's group thought. It's an individual who's too scared to have his own opinion because they're telling him, no, this is the way to go. And all of a sudden, as you get 3 and 4 and 1,000 and 1,000,000 people, all of a sudden that they just go together. Whatever. It's that whole thing, my little analogy of being the fly on the wall. When you have women talking about, yay, equal right to vote, yay, equal right to work, yay, all this good stuff. And then all of a sudden Sanger stands up and goes, yay, let's murder our unborn children. And then all of a sudden, yay, yeah, let's murder our unborn children. Yeah, yay. And then they look down on the people who don't. And then so they then start talking. Next thing you know, more of a group. Antifa, you know, the groups that go on to colleges and stop conservative-minded people from speaking. That's group thought. These people are dumb as a box of rocks. You ask them a single question about why they're there. Oh, I don't know. But they're there yelling and screaming, and you're evil. Well, there's usually only 2 or 3 that are yelling and screaming. You're evil, 3 or 4. The rest of them are just sitting back there chanting, yeah, what you're saying. That's group thought. So, Darlene, absolutely. It's not just narrow-minded people, but it's people who just, they don't know. They don't care. They just see a group of people. Well, I don't want to be against them because they're beating people up. So I'm just going to start talking with them. That's group thought, and that's evil. Let's see if I'm still on board here with everywhere. Yeah. Make sure I didn't miss any comments. I don't think I did. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate your commenting on stuff. And Darlene, thank you. That's what I need. I need people to comment. I don't want to just sit here and talk to you people. Trust me. I'd rather have people comment and then have a discussion back and forth. That's what I want. Calling in. Again, the phone number. Got to put that out there. 810-348-5807. I put it in the comments section. I wish my Uncle Dave could get through to me. Those of you, Kathy, you were here when Uncle Dave was trying to get through. It was funny. He tried. It just didn't work. His phone didn't work. Because he says things a heck of a lot more elegant than I do. That's for sure. Well, I'm going to switch. I'm going to stop talking about the topics. Quickly, I got, 3 more segments. News of the day, Facebook debates, and then I got to go through some memes. Because like I said, I just love these memes. Memes, when I was arguing with Andrew Heller's site, and I would debate with people, I saw these memes, and instead of me typing everything out, I put these memes out there because they had a picture, and it was saying what I wanted to say, and man, those people, minions of him, they hated that. They couldn't, there was no longer the point on the meme. It was, oh, meme, oh, you got to have a meme, oh, memes are stupid. No, memes say 1,000 words, but they put them in a picture and like 12 words. That's brilliant. People who can make really good memes, really funny memes, I'll just sit there and laugh about the memes. They're great. News of the day. Yes, obviously there's only one thing we can talk about, and that's the impeachment. Let's go into a little bit about the impeachment. I don't need... There's a guy, he does a great podcast. Remember, part of what this show is, basically, I'm a truck driver. 10 hours a day, I'm listening to podcast after podcast after podcast. I'm listening to, on YouTube, debates. People at the top of their field debating each other on climate change, on the notion of women not getting paid, the pay gap, on whatever it is. Debating. people at the top of their fields. And that's what I do all day long. And I just kind of soak it in. And then I pick which topic that I'll talk about this on my podcast. And I just inundate myself with it. Just hours and hours. You're talking 6-7 hours a day just listening to all the different points of view. And then I use my critical thinking skills, logic, and reason, which is what I wish some Democrat voters would do. Most of them don't. You start talking to them, they just kind of go off. But I digress. No, I can't digress. I got to make sure people understand this. If you vote Democrat and we know each other, I wish you wouldn't. I wish you would talk to me about topics, all the hundreds of topics, different topics that are important to this country, and we could talk and discuss it, because I think most people should realize that it's not the party of JFK, it's the party of Wilson, FDR, AOC. I just wish they would. But it's not personal. Like I said at the beginning, just because you have opinions and you want to talk and you have your opinions about every subject, it doesn't mean it's personal. It doesn't mean you hate. There is no there is no hate problem in this country. All right? The only hate problem is the leaders trying to make us hate each other. We just need to stop hating each other and just start talking like I'm doing, or making a fool of yourself like I'm doing. Whichever one. I'm okay with either one. But the impeachment, I think anybody, and I've discussed this with a couple people on Facebook and personally, truck stops are real fun places if you want to have some heated conversations, a couple close throwdowns. But the impeachment thing is so funny. It's amazing when you talk to certain people and you're both watching the same thing. And I watched quite a bit of it here and there. I listened to it. I shouldn't say I watched because I'm driving, but I'm listening to it. And it's okay. Let's go step by step here. First, everyone knows, I hope everyone understands, that the Democrat Party, the House, they lead the House, they actually made rules. They changed rules from any other impeachment hearing to make it so that the president, his lawyers, or Republicans could not bring in their own witnesses, their own people. And he had the right to actually stop them anytime he wanted to, which he did whenever they were making good points. They actually made those rules because they have the numbers to vote on stuff like that and pass the rules. Right from the get-go, okay, fine, you vote Democrat. Okay, fine, you hate Trump. Orange man bad, I get that. Okay, I get that. You think that. I understand. Hold on a second. Louder with Crowder. Another good podcast. Good mug, too. Anyways, how can you not look at something like that and just say, what in the heck am I voting for? These people are nuts. Because of a phone call that the transcript is already out. We know what was said on the transcript. But they're still bringing witnesses that listen to the transcript. One witness that listened to the transcript or listened to the phone call. Why is he there? We have the transcript. We know what was said. So how can you, as a Democrat voter, watch these things and say, "Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. She said that she heard from a person. This person heard from someone who talked to someone who was actually there, and they said Trump did a quid pro quo." Well, they got rid of quid pro quo because they realized, wait, quid pro quo is not part of impeachment. So they did other stuff, bribery and stuff like that. But it's a hearsay. It's not even hearsay. It's third say or fourth say. It doesn't make any sense. How can you, as a Democrat voter, look at that and say, yeah, I think we should vote for these people. They're not crazy. Yeah, they care about rule of law. Every single witness, there was only one or maybe two, that were actually there at the phone call, that this evil phone call, witnessing, saying that this is what they think Trump meant. They think he was doing bribery. They think quid pro quo. Okay, do you have any proof? No. Were you at the phone call? No. Did you ever talk to Trump about it? No. Okay. Well, the leader of Ukraine is saying there was no pressure. They got money. They never went to the White House for a meeting. There was no bribery. But they're still going on with the impeachment. It's hilarious. These are the same people that when Mueller went on there and talked to the Congress, looked like a total idiot. He looked like a person who knew nothing, not even barely his name. And this is the guy who ran the impeachment. I knew more about the Russian thing because of this. Remember, Spygate, Epic Times. I hope it's okay that I do this. You want to know what actually happened in the whole Russian hoax? This thing's impressive. It's awesome. It goes person by person. I know more than Mueller did. And he's the one that spent like, what was it, a couple $100 million talking to like, 30 different countries or something like that. These people that are watching this Ukraine BS, they still think the Russian thing actually happened, that something actually happened there. Now let's dig into the Ukraine thing real quick, because this is what they finally initially they were going to impeach him over the Russian thing. Well, then the Mueller report came back and no, you didn't do anything illegal. Sorry. Oh, gee, now what? And then this Ukraine thing happened. Oh, we're gonna go ahead and impeach him on the Ukraine phone call because it's bribery or whatever else is under impeachment. So let's dig into it just a little bit, just real quick, and then I'll move on to some of the debates I've had on Facebook because they're fun. But as far as the whole Ukraine thing, remember, Ukraine and America, they have a signed, I don't know if it's a treaty, but it's an agreement that each country will talk to the other country whenever there's corruption going on amongst each other, amongst certain people in the government. It's an actual agreement. So when Trump says, hey, how about looking into corruption of the 2016 election? That's actually part of the agreement. So that's all he was saying. Said, hey, you're the new president. You got elected. By the way, this guy is even less. I think this guy was a comedian. It's just like a stand-up comedian that got elected as their president. Tell me that didn't have something to do with the fact that Trump got elected, and he's basically was on TV, and he's a businessman, so he actually has some abilities. But never mind. I love that. That's fantastic. But anyways, so this guy, he's just asking this guy, hey, per our agreement with our countries, Ukraine, there's a lot of corruption going there. Hundreds of millions of dollars going from our nation to your nation to this bank, this natural gas company and banks, Burisma, that's one of the main companies that's over there. And they have connections over here so intense. But the problem is every single connection is on the Democrat Party. So, gee, do you think the Democrat Party isn't going to attack Trump until he backs off? And that's what I'm saying when I talk to people. That this is one thing and one thing only. It's the Democrat Party. First of all, they hate him because he wants to, clean the swamp. But he actually wants to get in there, and he's kind of taking some layers off this whole corruption thing that happened in the 2016 election. And they're all the Democrat leaders, right? I mean, Biden's son. The fact is he got in there after Biden became the leader heading Ukraine as far as the deals going on with Ukraine. There are 2 or 3 other leaders. Pelosi's son, I think, is involved. Kerry's son-in-law is involved, or stepson is involved. The Democrat Party is littered with all this corruption of money that went over to Ukraine. That's a fact, but somehow Trump's the bad guy. And how do you people not see this? That's why you can't talk to a Democrat voter face to face with this stuff, because they just run. They just like, shut up, agree to disagree. That's their answer because they don't have anything. All right. I went on about that really long. I want to get to a couple of these debates that I had on Facebook because they're topics. They bring up a topic that we can talk about if someone wants to make comments or call. God forbid someone actually call someday. Just kidding. Having fun. Everything's good. Looks like everything works. All right. So one of the debates that I was having, there's actually like four going on, and a couple of them, two people with the same thing. It's kind of interesting. I'm noticing a tick up on Facebook comments for some reason about Native Americans, Indians, and how they deserve something or other. Now, right off the bat, my initial point, and I've said this from the get-go, is let's see, Europeans came, we conquered, America was born, we conquered. Conquered people tend to not be able to get their own things. They don't get their own areas that they get to continue to live and live their own rules and laws. You tend to assimilate, become a slave, or you die, or you move, you get out of there. All right, we're talking 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. Areas were still being founded. Nation after nation are conquering other nations over in Europe constantly. They're fighting constantly for land. Well, that's the same thing America did. All right, from 1788 on, because that's when we became America. All of a sudden, there's this big push. Every once in a while, I go back a little bit. You keep the push for reparations for African descent. We know that's impossible to do for many reasons, and that's a whole other topic. The whole Indian idea is, well, you know what? Back when they were kind of warring with each other, treaties were made, and so therefore we should go back to these treaties. And I'm like, so okay. So if a treaty said that you get to have, I don't know, Oklahoma on to west all the way to California, are you saying that everyone who lives to the west of Oklahoma now has to move out? I mean, is that really your solution? These people aren't going to say, well, yeah, of course. No, because that's a stupid argument. So what do you want? And there's a gentleman, and I'm going to say these names, and I don't know if this is a bad thing that I'm doing, but I figure we're having a conversation on Facebook. Me saying their name now just because they're not here to, I guess, defend their points, I don't know. I gave them the ability to. I said, hey, I'm going to be on here talking about it, so come on the show and you can defend yourself. But they don't want to. That's their fault, right? And I want to bring up, his name's Ron Owens. We agree on just about everything. And so it kind of shocked me when all of a sudden, because he agrees with me as far as immigrations and assimilate, and if you don't assimilate, leave, all this stuff. But when it comes to the Indians, all of a sudden he's arguing really strong that the Indians, now they have more rights. They, because of whatever reason, they get to have their land back, or because America broke treaties with them, and so what? It's first line thinking. Okay, first line thinking is this: America made treaties with the Indians. Indians, we didn't necessarily keep the treaties. We still got the land and we kept them in reservation. Okay. Second line thinking is, wait a second. Give me a point in history, and maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe there are some other small examples, but where a people or a nation conquered another people or another nation, and that people were able to kind of still live their own life, whatever they wanted to do, and not assimilate. Throughout history in Europe, I don't think that's something that happened. And here, why all of a sudden should it? But it did. That kind of shows how wonderful America was, if you want to look at it that way. We actually didn't. We actually, yeah, we need this land for growth. We need this land to become the greatest nation in the world. But we're going to let you, no, I don't, I'm pretty hardline about this. Nothing. You're either American or you're not. You're not African American. You're American. Or you're not. You're not Native Indian American. You're American. Or you're not. That's the way it is. You either agree with our general cultural ideas, not 100% because you can't, it's impossible. You agree with our constitutional democratic republic. You agree with that. You agree with the rules of laws. If you don't like a law, you try to change it somehow legally. That's our country. Why do we have these groups? Well, why do we have the groups? Again, Democrat Party. They need the groups. And that's what I'm trying to tell in this conversation that I had with the Indian. I don't know what other people think. Maybe I'm the only person that thinks this way. But again, it's not comfortable. People aren't brave enough, I guess, to actually speak, well, that kind of makes sense. All right? We conquered them. Become American. If you want to think fondly about your ancestors, that's great. A lot of people here in this country think wonderful about their ancestral history over in Europe, over in Africa, over wherever. Go ahead. That's great. In your home, you want to have all your ancestral stuff? Go ahead. You want to speak your own ancestral language in your house? Go ahead. But as a country, as a community, as a culture, this is America, you're either American or you're not. Why is that bad? I don't understand that. Okay? They don't even want to do the melting pot. They want to be outside the pot and have their own little pot. But they want to have their own little pot and then complain constantly that they're struggling in their own little pot. Oh, Ted's thirsty again. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I have a funny feeling you can because the voice meter is going up. That was one of the conversations I've had, and it wasn't the first one. My Uncle Dave kind of had the same thing. He doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving because of the evilness, I guess, that went on and the abuse that the Indians took and all that. And I'm like, we're at war. They were killing us. We were killing them. There are bad people on our side, bad people on their side. Good people on our side, good people on their side. They broke treaties, we broke treaties. It's called war. It's called us trying to expand and them not wanting to. What do you do then? Okay? You fight. Not every time and not every group. Some of the white settlers and the pilgrims got along with some of the different Indian groups. Sometimes they got together with them Indian groups and went after really bad, evil Indian groups. You talk to these people who are just huge into their native Indians, and that's great. Love your culture. Love your individual ancestral culture. It's great. Keep it. But when you talk to them, it's like Indians were just these wonderful, peaceful hippies living in tents and never hurt anybody. They hardly ever hurt each other. They were just wonderful. No, they weren't. They were savages. They were killing each other. They were fighting each other for different land to be able to grow for their food and hunt on their. All right, but anyways, that was one of the conversations I had. I'm going to keep going with this. I know this is a different segment. It's a different thing. Hopefully, I'm probably just going from one to another, but like I said, okay, I love this stuff. I love the debate. I love the politics of it. I like discussing this, what's best for this country, and I'm going to keep doing it. So, the next one, well, I already kind of talked about it, was the pay gap. My nephew Ron, his wife, are arguing with the pay gap, and that one really confused me because that's basically not even a conversation anymore, really. The only people still pushing that or even saying that are still just the leaders, just kind of yipping away, trying to still make women believe that this is all going on and that's all true. And, there's this huge 70 cents on the dollar pay gap. And, here's all the studies. And they actually put out studies saying, pay gap, there's a pay gap. And this is why it's like 70 cents on the dollar. It's so first level. Look into the studies. Every single study does one thing. They add up all the women's income, all the men's income. That's it. That's what they do. They they don't even look at it and realize, well, wait a second. Women tend to go towards certain. You remember that the whole XXXY thing. Women are different than men. Remember that whole thing. Women are different than men. Okay, they like different things. Okay, men, we like to build things and break things and hurt ourselves and kind of stupid for the most part. Women are caring and loving and maturing, and that's why they're better mothering. See how it all kind of comes together? So their jobs, they tend to go towards these jobs. Not a lot of women in the construction field. Some, and guess what? They can make good money. Not a lot of women in the garbage, waste on the back of those trucks, throwing trash. They actually make good money. Most of them are more into the people. Okay? So they're the jobs. That doesn't even take into account the difference in jobs and the pay. All the numbers point to the fact that men work more hours. They work more overtime hours. Because men, it's Tim Allen. We want to make as much money as we can because it looks good. We can, women like us if we make more money. It's naturally in us. It is what it is. Competition. We want to make more money than the guy next to us. Women, the competition isn't quite there. It's just not there. So we work more hours. We work more overtime hours. We want to. And these are studies that are women and men in the same position. But the fact is they work a lot more hours. So guess what? Their paycheck's going to be bigger. All those studies are doing is that adding this total with this total. You tell them that, and they don't even want to listen. They don't. They just send you another study that, oh, look. Okay, but it's still the same thing. They're still saying the same thing. And I don't understand it. I get in these... The reason why I left Facebook in the first place, that I wanted to do this, a podcast type of thing, is because I stopped going to Facebook because of these kind of arguments. It was just so silly. They don't respond when you show them that they're wrong. They just keep going. And face-to-face or a conversation, you can check somebody. That's why they like Facebook so much. That's when I started listening to podcasts and YouTube and watching debates, and that's when I got interested in that. And that's when I decided to do this podcast in hopes that maybe after a year or so I might actually start getting some people that kind of feel the same way I do. Let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion. Let's not just text on Facebook. Text. That's pretty bad. Chat. Okay, good. Sure, but understand that many people that were conquered by others was not very pretty, no matter where you are. That is what being conquered means. Correct. Correct, Dar. It's not. War is horrible. War is almost evil. Very few people, no matter what other people might say, very few people want war. Very few military people want war. Just a few maybe generals and a few kind of really crazy, I want to kill people. But because war is horrible. But I'm not sure what that means when you, as far as it's not pretty, but you're conquered. And we're talking 1600s and 1700s. You're conquered. It's over. You lost. Assimilate, become a slave, die, or move. That's all you had. That's the only choice you had. And then later in the 1700s, when we didn't have slavery anymore, we were still like, no, we're still going to push to the west. We're still going. If you're going to get in our way, you're going to have a choice: assimilate or leave. We never should have had that initial idea where, okay, we'll let you kind of live here, because it was just it was a disaster happening. No, it should have been assimilate. This is our culture. This is our belief. This is our rule of law. This is America. Love it or leave it. Because that's what a culture does. That's what makes a society great. This is what we believe. If you don't like it, leave. And that's kind of my whole point. Yes, conquering is horrible, and then the people being conquered is just really bad, and there's a little bit of anger still left in there. But after a couple hundred years, maybe you can get rid of that anger each generation and say, What's our choice? What's our option here? Keep fighting and looking stupid, or, America's kind of a great place. Let's just kind of assimilate. So women like to build things and blow shit up. Darlene, when I make a point, you have to remember that not all, not everything, not 100%. We're talking data. We're talking odds. We're talking 90% of men love to build things and break things and are kind of stupid. 90% of women love that frilly, feeling good, being nice to people. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing to like people and want to help people and nurse people and mother people. That's a good thing. So I'm not saying anything bad here. And I really don't think I'm saying anything wrong, right? That's just obvious. Like, oh shit, no way, he said that. Back up. I don't think I am. If I am, point it out. I don't have a problem with that. Thank you, Darlene, for comments. I love it. You and Victor, thank you. This is fantastic. Hey, Ann Arlene just joined. Say hi, Ann Arlene, so I know you can hear you. Hi. 80-20. Okay, Dar, I'll give you 80-20. Well, that's only because we're going in the wrong direction, Dar. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. It's okay for women to be women and men to be men. It's okay for men to go out and work hard and women to take care of the children. It's a good thing. Not 100%. You don't have to. I'm just saying that's a good thing. If you don't do that, that's fine. Live your life. But it's still a good thing. Not wrong, just making a point. I'm good with you. Keep doing it. I love it. It needs to be a correct study with apples and apples, or it can be skewed and make your numbers look like you want them to. Every single study, I think, probably has the problem with doing that. See, science was supposed to be that one thing that SJWs didn't get a hold of. That's what we were hoping. The social studies and the psychology and history and all that stuff. Heck, even math became SJW. We were hoping science wouldn't, but it has. It has 100%. All those studies have SJW written all over it. That's social justice warriors. They don't care. They have an end result, and everything they do is going to move towards that end result. Wait a second. This doesn't fit our narrative. That's better. Manipulate data, manipulate numbers, only ask certain people that they know they're going to get the correct answer that they want. You're absolutely right. How's that go, Dar? And you're the smart one. You're scientific minded. Bad data in, bad data out. That's what's wrong with not wrong, just making a point. Yep. Good. We agree. Life is good. What's the next argument that I had on Facebook? I'm having to go on Facebook and have these discussions, and I'm trying to pull people into this to have a conversation with me. Yeah, let's argue on Facebook, but guess what? You can actually yell at me and make me look like a fool live on my podcast. Why don't you come on? And guess what? They don't. Why? Because they know they're wrong. Anyways, I had a couple conversations about Trump, and these are usually my favorite ones. And there's a couple that I always get into little debates with. One is Nan Mutton. I think I went to school with her. I'm not really positive. And another guy named James Rotebug. I have no idea how to pronounce his name, but never seen him before. But his point is that not as much as Trump, evil, bad, orange man, bad, but conservatism is dead in this country. That's actually what he was trying to say, which I thought was funny. But I think it's a valid thing to bring up that I debated on Facebook, because he honestly has this belief that the more conservative-minded citizen of America is a dying breed. We're dying. Because he was a Bernie supporter. Obviously more towards that liberalism, socialism, which we all know socialism is evil. And they point out that all these young people, they just love socialism. It's the newest trend. No, dude. Every generation goes through that stupid crap. Everyone is a liberal until they become smart enough to be more of a conservative-minded person. It's as simple as that. Once you break out of that initial, it's good to give people things, and realize, No, it's bad to give them things. It's that whole thing. I think it might be a Bible thing, or maybe it's not. Teach a man to fish compared to give a man a fish, however that goes. Not much of a Bible reader. That's a perfect thing to say. That's perfect difference between socialism and capitalism right there. And he actually was trying that. James wrote a blog. I have no idea. But anyways, so it wasn't as much Orange Man bad as much as conservatism is a dying thing. And I'm going to argue that all the way home. I still believe that this country is majority, 70% or more of on that conservative line of thinking. In other words, be good to the other person, but make sure you're taken care of first so that then you can help other people. See, that's the more conservative, free market, capitalist idea. Because who helps people more, billionaires or the poverty-stricken? Let's see, a billionaire can give hundreds of millions to charitable, and the poverty person can't give anything. So who helps more? So that's the whole idea. When you're in an airplane and that plane's going down, what are those stewardesses always telling you? Save yourself first so that then you can save the other person. Socialism, capitalism. Real simple, people. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end that part of it, and I hope there's still people there. We're about an hour and a half in. That's about right. Remember, memes. I love memes. Let's make sure there's not any comments out here that I need to... Any comments out there? Boeing is fighting this now because they skewed their own studies to manipulate what they want and killed over 400 people. I don't know what that means. Are you saying that they're saying don't help other people? Are you talking about the face mask thing? Don't put your face mask on first and then... Remember, people, I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm just a truck driver with the video in my face talking to you, trying to get people to call in or comment and have a conversation. So, yeah, we're talking back and forth. And I'm going to take a drink when I need a drink. Uncle Gerald and Arlene said hi, and you're not saying hi back. That's very rude. Anyways, here are some memes. Now, remember, at the beginning I said when I decided to start having segments, that one thing I have to have is memes, because I've been loving me some memes. Love memes. Some of them are just so funny that I am in a full belly laugh, and when my belly starts, it's hard to drive. I mean, it's like shaking the truck. Anyways, they made the choice not to run the full R&D. Yeah, oh, you're talking about corporations sometimes being evil. I don't even know I talked about that, did I? I'm talking about the face mask, save yourself, and then save the person next to you, your child. Yeah, corporations can do evil things like that, where they realize that it'd be cheaper for them to run, make money, and then pay people off, even though it's bad. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. No argument here. I think corporations can be just as evil as the government. No doubt about it. Some corporations. Not all. Some of the major ones, they might fudge on those R&D. But is it the corporation and the group, or is it that person that's feeling that weight on their shoulders that, well, I got to get this out or I'm going to lose my job? I'm not really sure. You would probably know more than I about that, and at that level of corporations. It's probably just the occasional person here or there that's afraid to lose their job. Oh, let's fudge those numbers. I don't know. I could be wrong. Because I can't imagine the investors in these corporations that if they actually were given a choice, do we want to do this or spend more money? I think 95% of them would say, nope, let's do the right thing. Ralph, you son of a gun. You are... Oh my God, I didn't find a single Epstein did not kill himself meme when I sat down and did my show prep. I was so upset. I was going down that list of Facebook begging. I'm begging to find an Epstein did not kill himself meme, and I could not find a single one. Those are like Those and the cat memes are like my favorite. That Epstein didn't kill himself. Some of those were really good. I mean, some of them you didn't realize what was going on until the very end when it first started. you're you're right. And thanks for getting my show canceled on Facebook, Ralph. Again, did not want to go full testing, and the government gave them more control. I would have to look into that, but sure, that's called corporatism, not capitalism. Corporatism is when big business gets together with big government and they cheat people. That's corporatism. Barack Obama was famous with corporatism. GE is very big in corporatism. They give all these politicians big money, and then they are the last man standing. That's one of the first big signs of socialism taking hold, is when these major corporations really start putting the pressure on these smaller businesses, because the government is giving them all the grants, giving them all the jobs, and they're putting laws out there that the little guy trying to make his way up, they just can't handle it. All these regulations that Trump is trying to get rid of, they put all these regulations out there that the big corporations can handle. For a year or two, they can handle it. But these little corporations, they go right out of business. That's corporatism. And that's what you're talking about, Dar. 100% corporatism. Ralph, that is awesome. And you're right. Epstein didn't. Now I am so... You had to bring that up. I am so upset because I did not find a single meme when I was doing my... Oh, I'm so upset. Anyways, let's do some memes. I hope this is something that people think is pretty cool because, I love memes. I love memes. And this one is like one of my favorite ones. One of my favorite. When I saw this is one of those ones when I first saw it, was like, oh, that's awesome. Why didn't I think of something like that? First of all, if I knew how to make memes, I would be sitting, that's all I would probably do, is just sit down and make memes. But this is the first one. Democrats trying to impeach Trump. And I could not... All right, I'm sorry, but someone on Facebook has to tell me who this is. Because I can't come up with the name of the movie, and I can't come up with his name inside the movie or out. But I know if my wife was watching, she would in an instant understand it. But, oh, this delay kills me. Here it is. Trump. Come on, people. You cannot tell me that this isn't absolutely awesome. Just going back and forth. I love that movie, though. That's a great movie. I need someone to tell me what it was. Tell me. I'm dying not being able to come up with this guy's name. Oh, I have this horrible thought that YouTube is just done. They're not keeping up with me at all. Austin Powers, thank you. But what's his he's Austin Powers. That's the name of the movie. That was stupid. I was getting ready to ask you what his name is. All right. So that's that one. Now we're going to do more towards the political. All right. This is why I like memes, because whether they're funny like that one, I had to start with that one because I think it's ingenious to come up with that. But now we're going to get into some of the more political leaning but funny ones. I got so many of these. Love them. Guns don't kill people. People that can't fight kill people. To me, that's just so ingenious. It's absolutely fantastic. I got to figure out this delay because I'm looking at it right now, but you're not. So am I talking and you guys are getting the conversation along with the meme in time? I don't know. So again, the next meme is, yes, guns don't kill people. People that can't fight kill people. That's just ingenious. I'm sorry. And I think most people think that these people said that, and I have no idea if that's true. Most of the time, it's probably not the actual person that said that. Next, these are one of my favorite ones. Anything with Kaepernick in it is I get a kick out of. But when you throw Bundy into this, I mean, this takes me back. I mean, I don't know when was what's this called? Living with what? See, I'm not coming up with the names of the shows. I should have did that first. But good old Bundy. Watching this show, I love this show. When you suck at football and end up selling shoes, because when you watch this show, if you watch this show, you're gonna look at that and go, yeah, that was awesome, because that was a big part of the show, was him being a quarterback and being a football player. Was he a quarterback or a running back? Yeah, he must have been a quarterback. So that's the next one. But I'm loving, again, like I said, I love me some memes. When you suck at football and end up selling shoes. That's humor. That is fantastic humor. That, how could anyone not just absolutely love memes? And Ralph bringing up that Epstein didn't kill himself. Thousands and thousands of them memes about that. But they weren't just a picture like this with Epstein didn't kill himself. They were leading into a bunch of conversations, and I am so upset that I didn't find a couple, because those were by far my favorite. By far my favorite. All right, now let's go to the next one. We're going to run through these. I'll try to run through them quick, but I love it. Now, obviously, anything with Trump and Obama, it's going to be great. Now, some of these are more political than they are humor, you always got some humor in a lot of these, as well as political. The tale of two presidents. Trump pardons an Army Ranger who killed a Taliban in self-defense. If you studied that whole thing, which I did, this is why I can't watch military movies very much. Real ones that talk about the real things that happened, especially in recent history, because the politicians are so stupid. They basically get our men killed for stupid things. And so this kind of stuff just it gets on my nerves. I get up and walk out because I get so pissed. But anyways, so he pardons an Army Ranger who killed the Taliban in self-defense. Awesome. Thank you, Trump. Who did Obama pardon? A transvestite who committed espionage. Yeah. Both truth and a kind of a humorous thing. It's like, oh my God, no way. But that's true. It's absolutely true. That's what happened. Married with children. Thank you, Darlene. You're 2 for 2 so far. Love it. I love humor. I love intellectual humor. Dry humor, doesn't matter. And I just think memes are the new poetry. They're awesome. All right. Again, some of these are overly political. Now, the cat memes came on strong. I'd say almost as strong as the Epstein ones, because and trust me, there was some Epstein cat ones, but oh geez, I did the wrong one first. Where is it? Act like you never saw that one, because if you don't know the meme, if you don't know the cat meme situation, that first one wouldn't have made a sense. So look at this one first. Now I have no idea who this lady is on the left. Okay, but the look on the cat's face is awesome when you start thinking about it. So when I first started seeing these cat memes, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And if you guys have some memes that you love, put them in the comment section, because I obviously missed a lot of the Epstein ones. If you were my boyfriend, I'd poison your food. If you were my girlfriend, I'd eat it. So obviously, that's great. My guess is these are like that wives show, like Hollywood Wives or Atlanta Wives. My guess is that's one of those women. But the cat ones are awesome. So now you would have these memes for everything. It didn't matter. Something on the left, she's screaming and crying about something, and the cat answers. It's awesome. And then, of course, you go to this one, which is the first one I brought up, which I shouldn't have, and that is First time I saw this after seeing 1,000 cat ones, it was fantastic. Where's the cat? Me not know. Maybe he got for a walk. Go for a walk. WOK. See? Now that's humor. That's a little dark. Some people might get offended, but I don't care because it's meant for fun. That one's pretty awesome. And if you watch, 1,000 of the cat ones, then all of a sudden you see that one. It's like, oh, did you see the one with 9 lives and I have 10 bullets? No, I didn't. Married with children. How could I not come up with that? And his name was Bundy, but my mind tells me it was Ted Bundy. That's not right, is it? Is it Ted Bundy? Might be. So, of course, after seeing the cat ones for a while, boom. Yeah, this one. It's pretty good. Anyways. More Kaepernick. You can never have enough Kaepernick. Oops. I already did that one. There's quite a few of the bear. Again, I can't come up with the names of the movie, but I remember when this movie first came out, I actually thought it was more of a kid's show. It was an awesome shock, but great movie with the bear. This 10-year selfie challenge actually started out as a real 10-year challenge. So you would 10 years out of graduation, then you go back to your high school graduation, 10 years. College graduation, 10 years later. And people were doing that, back and forth, back and forth. Now, conspiracy theorists say it's because Facebook wants to have your face on there. Old and new face, it's getting people to put their face on there for facial recognition because it's a big thing in China. Facebook actually went with China as far as this whole facial recognition thing for China to be able to do their new law that they're doing. I think it's awesome because then all of a sudden you start seeing memes pop up where people are doing all kinds of stuff. 10 years, Bill Clinton, 10 years prior being president, and then now it's like 10 years. It's like, what? 10 years with Clinton, or 10 years with Trump, and 10 years now, they're almost the same. So it's hilarious. But this one, obviously, the Snuggle Bear, and then 10 years later, smoking a bowl, I think it's called. But I just absolutely love. It's awesome. I can't get enough with this stuff. The memes are fantastic. Ew. What? Eating cat is ew? Come on, everyone knows cat is good. Anyways, next. I think I'm going to love this segment because it puts me in a good mood. All right, this is the last one from Trump, and I'm doing it just to kind of get people all, no way. Best meme of all. I'm thankful for this guy. Yeah, you betcha. Now listen, again, Trump isn't perfect. He's kind of a pig, probably. He's done bad. He was a rich boy. But I tell you what, as far as a billionaire, this guy is as close to the working man as you'll ever get from a billionaire. He really is. The dude eats cheeseburgers and Diet Coke. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. Come on. He doesn't go to those fancy parties, really. He hates those people. He likes the average guy more than that because he kind of is. He's from Brooklyn. He's that kind of a guy. And so when he says things that are more Brooklyn than rich folk, they don't like him for it. But hey, even if you're a moderate Democrat, you have to be happy as heck that Hillary didn't win. You have to be. The destruction would have been horrible. Anyways. All right. That might be the end of the political ones. I saw this and thought it was great. Now, I happen to watch this show. I like him as an actor, too. It's great. But if the Detroit Lions were a person, now, if you don't watch this show, shameless, you are not going to get it. But if you do and you see this, you're like, oh, that's awesome. Because he's a train wreck. He just constantly, the whole movie, the whole series, him being a train wreck. And that's what it's about. I can't think of his name either. He might not have got enough because I guess he was doing the troops. It was at the troops. Now, I assume that every president went to veterans, went to a place that the veterans are overseas during Thanksgiving. I just assumed that. But I heard something today that not really. Not a lot do that. Ruin my week. What the heck is this? I'm afraid to click on it because I don't know if I'll lose my... Oh my gosh. There it is. Froze for a little bit. All right. Now these are more light, kind of fun, joking memes. I don't think I have any more of the political ones. I got rid of them. I wanted to end the podcast with some humorous stuff. And if there's still any kids watching, the last two are a little bit on the adult side, so I'll warn you again. But this one, I just think it's awesome. I mean, when you just can't be bothered to put in the effort, you've got this awesome light show on the right with the house. And I hope this is real. If this is real, I just want to shake this guy's hand who owns this house on the left. Ditto. I mean, that's awesome. Now, and then as a meme, of course, it's fantastic.